Shogi. No way. Crap, she thinks she can get whatever she wants from me right now. I might have to find a way to knock her down a peg. The meeting at the royal palace consisted of the usual faces: the king, the chancellor, Marquis Iblinger plus a few more, including Crown Prince Lionel and the Minister of Finance. Mitsuha had already given the king a general report over the radio, and Marquis Iblinger had filled in the details, so they didn't need to talk about anything that had happened prior to the Marquis's return to the capital. Accordingly, she focused on what happened afterward, and on their prospects going forward. In short, most of the former prisoners are being cooperative. We're having them teach our people how to operate the captured boats and cannons. We also have people studying their ships and weapons with the goal of making our own. Our technological inferiority means we'll never match their strength by simply imitating them, so we're developing high-explosive projectiles to gain the upper hand. Everyone nodded along quietly to Mitsuha's explanation. Making ships and weapons is nothing more than a stopgap, however. If we don't foster improvement in our fundamental scientific knowledge and technological prowess, we won't develop past the technology we've just acquired, and the enemy will leave us in the dust. We need to work as hard as we can to catch up. That said, if the next survey fleet arrives sooner than expected, we can always buy ourselves more time by just making it disappear like we did the last one. What? I know, but it would be perfectly plausible for the next fleet to go missing for unknown reasons, too. There are endless disasters that could occur. The crew members could get sick and die from water that some well-intentioned locals gave them, or their ships could be attacked in the middle of the night after they let their guards down because of a warm welcome. The king and the others stared at her in disturbed silence. They're probably all thinking I'm the last person they'd ever want to make an enemy of. Oh, shut up. Also, Mitsuha continued, the next fleet might end up landing at a different country entirely. It's likely just happenstance that they showed up here this time. We need to spread word throughout the continent as quickly as possible. That will be tricky, but I suppose it must be done. Can I count on your cooperation in that matter? The king asked. I guess there's no other choice. So yes, I'll accompany you abroad. Glad to hear it. Also, I hate to ask this, but would you be willing to reach out to your homeland? Mitsuha knew what he wanted, but that wasn't going to work. There would be no point. My country is too far away and would have nothing to gain from helping us. The distance is too great for trade, and we don't have anything worth offering, anyway. We also lack the military strength or influence to make much of an ally. They have no reason to take an interest in this kingdom other than the fact that I happen to live here. There would be risk involved, too. If I died a premature death, my country might blame this kingdom for overworking me and take an interest in the bad sense. It's safer not to involve yourselves with them, she explained. The king and chancellor hung their heads in disappointment. Anyway, there's no guarantee it will come to war. That is, we are technically at war right now, but that's only because of an unfortunate misunderstanding with a slave trader who exaggerated his position. That can still be undone. The only way this ends without conflict, though, is if the Kingdom of Vanel sees us as an equal power, rather than a small country they can easily push around. Mitsuha went on to discuss the plans to finish the shipyard, make prototypes of small boats, and finally move on to official warships, and after touching on a handful of other topics and making some proposals, it came time to bring the meeting to a close. Oh, before you go, I'd like to ask a small favor of you, Your Majesty. You do owe me a lot at this point, after all, Mitsuha said. What do you need? The king asked, looking a little scared. I was hoping you could lend me a large detachment of soldiers for the big showdown. Huh? You should know you have my full support. I'll supply as many crewmen and soldiers as you need. Oh, no, not that showdown. I'm talking about the one in the capital. You know, the Reversi and Shogi tournaments. We're expecting an absurd number of people to enter, which will make it a nightmare to manage. The capital might be totally dysfunctional for a few days. Apologies in advance. The The king ended up granting Mitsuha the guards she wanted for the tournaments. She could relax on that front. Oh, and I remembered to tell the king what happened on the way to the capital. I said I would tell him, and I always keep my word. She made sure to say that she didn't think the local lord had ordered his vassal to take the rash actions he did. The clerk at the inn was the true offender for giving the man a key. The lord probably did just want to invite her over for a pleasant chat. If that was the case, she felt a little bad about the harsh accusations she had made in her fury after his vassal walked in on her naked. The lord might even have rushed after me to apologize, but I had already jumped away. I'll gladly accept any apology he offers at a later date. I told the king about what happened so that he and other nobles wouldn't blame the lord if talk of the event reached their ears. I was definitely not just tattling on him. His county is on the route between my own and the capital, so I need to establish friendly relations. He might be more pliable in negotiations if he feels guilty about what happened. I smell money. Maybe I'll ask him to do some maintenance on the road. Mitsuha went back to paradise the next day and unveiled a variety of dishes made with shiitake. Burnt and the others loved them and started devising shiitake dishes of their own right away. Now that she had a guaranteed customer, Mitsuha would have pets start carrying shiitake on his regular trips between her county and the capital. Chefs at other restaurants would definitely begin buying shiitake once they tried them at Paradise and learned they were available for purchase, and it wouldn't be long before housewives started cooking with them at home, too. Wait, what's Marcel doing here? He's the chef for Adelaide's family. He doesn't work at Paradise, does he? Mitsuha went to the mercenary guild next. She wanted to hire some novice mercenaries to help out on the day of the tournaments, but ran into a snag. No one will be here? On those days specifically? What if I move the dates of the tournaments? Mitsuha asked. Then no one will be here on those days, the girl at reception replied. What? Why? Why is she telling me that any 2 days I pick won't work? Because nearly all of our mercenaries will be entering your tournaments. So no matter what days you decide to hold them, there will be no mercenaries here for you to hire, the receptionist finally explained. Oh, duh. Why didn't I think of that? Mitsuha sighed. What do I do now? Where did Mitsuha always turn to in times of need? The orphanage, of course. I was thinking the tournaments would be a great time to put all hands on deck and sell as much lightning corn as we can, the schemer girl told Mitsuha when she tried to hire the orphans to help with the tournaments. Apparently they were planning on borrowing pots from their neighbors, mass-producing popcorn on an assembly line, then having all the orphans walk around and sell it at the event. They wanted to make one last killing before they lost their monopoly. I can't believe this girl. I need pets to get her out of here, stat. The orphans probably would have accepted the job if Mitsuha insisted, but she didn't want to spoil the plan they had worked so hard on. She wished them the best of luck, then withdrew. Welcome back, my lady. Mitsuha had decided to try the Bozacy's capital mansion next, where she was greeted by a chorus of servants. She figured they wouldn't have much to do without their employers in town. Please help me, Rufus. Wow, he actually agreed to help me. I knew I could count on the butler of the Bozacy's capital mansion. Rufus said he would leave a skeleton crew to guard the mansion during the 2 days of tournaments, and lend her the entire rest of the staff. He even said that servants from the Reiner mansion would be able to help, too. Whether that came about through some maid network or via Marcel over at Paradise, Mitsuha didn't know. This is just like that moment in every RPG where the protagonist is in trouble and all the friends they've made rush to their aid from all over the land. Alright, let's do this. After getting approval from various quarters and checking to make sure there weren't any conflicts with events in the royal palace or elsewhere in the city, Mitsuha decided to hold the tournaments in 2 weeks' time. She wanted to give anyone coming from other parts of the kingdom plenty of leeway to get there. She also put up posters announcing the dates right away, and had flyers distributed to other towns to make sure the correct information got around. The black and white and color portraits were already taken, she could print them at any time. What do I need to do next? I guess there's not much, actually. The only real problem is how to handle registration and portrait redemption during the event. I'm leaving security to the King's soldiers, and for the first day of the Battle Royale the tournaments, the entrants will search out their opponents, so that won't take any effort on my part, either. We'll make brackets for the lucky few who survive to the second day, since that'll require a little more oversight. And the victors who survive to the very end will get to enjoy a delicious dinner with me. Talk about a royale with cheese, woof, sorry. The tournaments would be held concurrently over the course of 2 days. The Reversi tournament would involve 8 rounds the first day and 7 the second, for a total of 15 rounds. That would accommodate up to 32,768 people. Even if half that many showed up, they would only have to cut 1 round, which wouldn't make much of a difference time-wise. The notion of 16,000 matches taking place simultaneously throughout the capital was still terrifying, though, and the goal of the portraits was to reduce that number as much as possible. If the number of entrants decreased dramatically, they would simply have to adjust on the fly. I feel like searching for opponents is gonna take longer than actually playing the matches. We'll be able to coordinate the matches on the second day because there will be so many fewer people, but the first day would be straight up impossible. The players will just have to manage on their own. We're gonna light lamps in the public square at night in case it takes that long. There weren't nearly as many people playing shogi yet, so that tournament would only entail 4 rounds on the first day and 3 on the second. There were fewer matches, but each one would take significantly longer than a game of Reversi. I don't think there'll be any problems on that front. The people here aren't given to lengthy pondering. The prizes would be given independently to the winners of the Reversi and Shogi tournaments. That meant there would be 2 first-place finishes, 2 second-place finishes, and so on. I'll be having dinner twice, going on 4 walks and shopping trips, having 4 lunches, getting my cheeks squished by 8 people, and all 16 winners will get to pat my head. I might go bald after all. Oh, I'll be fine because of my healing powers. Right. The sun sank steadily toward the horizon as Mitsuha spent the rest of the day at the Boses and Reiner mansions explaining the procedures for the tournaments and checking to make sure plans hadn't changed. All right, everyone. Let me hear you scream if you want to pat Mitsuha's head, Sabine shouted, her voice amplified through a speaker attached to the largest tree in the public square. Yee-er. The crowd shouted back in unison. Crap. I never should have let her be the MC. I was gonna do it myself, but Sabine volunteered, saying, "You're the prize, Mitsuha. You can't lower yourself to doing a job like that. You need to sit up on that platform and look dignified, like a proper prize." Sabine then read the script detailing the rules of the tournaments and finished with a loud declaration, "The inaugural board game tournament starts now." Inaugural. I'm not planning on doing a second one, just so you know. The tournament participants all began looking for opponents at once. Some challenged those nearest them, while others raced around looking for children they thought would make for easy opponents. I hope those people run into a kid like Sabine. After some rethinking, Mitsuha had decided to open registration 5 days before the tournaments. There was no way they would have had time the morning of the event to hand every player a black and white portrait and scrape off part of the Yomino branding on their board in return. Even an army of 30 maids would have had to register over 1,000 people each, which would have taken an ungodly amount of time. Doing the registration beforehand was the right call. Mitsuha was left with nothing to do once the matches started. Sabine said she shouldn't wander around during play because it would cause chaos and people wouldn't be able to concentrate, and the others agreed with her. As such, she sat unmoving on her perch, feeling more like a doll to be won than the sponsor of the event. Having nothing else to do, she decided to do some thinking. It's been almost a year since I wound up in this world. I've had a few near-death experiences, and made a lot of valuable connections. I owe so much to its people, and many of them have come to rely on me, too. I'm even starting to feel like this world is where I belong. I never go back to Earth anymore except to take care of the house, show everyone I'm still alive, and procure stuff I need over here. All my friends have moved to the city for college or jobs. Maybe I should just become a person of this world like I told the countries of Earth I was. But I don't want to lose the house that Mom and Dad left me. If I actually have stopped aging, I wouldn't be able to live in Japan forever anyway. I can use makeup to make myself look older, but that'll only work for about 10 years before people realize something is off. Maybe I'll sell the house at that point and tell people I'm moving abroad. I could stay in contact with my friends over email, and after another 20 years I could pretend to be my daughter and go visit them. They'd get so excited about how much I look like their old friend. At some point I'll have the captain prepare multiple national identities for me. I'm sure there are lots of countries that are loose with that kind of thing. For the right amount of money, you can buy anything from citizenship to a doctorate. Then I'll prepare safe houses around the world. That way I'll have a bunch of identities and residences ready to go if I ever need them. One day I'll be a princess from another world blessed with a long lifespan due to her elven blood, and another day I'll be an ordinary girl in rural Switzerland leading a quiet life and looking after her weapons collection. Yet another day I'll be a girl who owns a deserted island in the South Seas and watches over the world from her secret base. But her true identity is Mitsuha. How much longer are you going to keep daydreaming? Shut up, Sabine. Chapter 30. Sarah. Mitsuha, someone to see you, Sabine said. A man who looked to be about 30 was standing beside her. It is a pleasure to meet you, the man said. I am Baron Ablaze from the Herald's College. Herald's College? Mitsuha had no idea what he might want. Quite right. It appears you have chosen a coat of arms but have not yet come to have it registered. I am here to inform you that we have taken care of the paperwork on your behalf. To show our gratitude for all you've done, Archpriestess. Oh, thank you very much. Sorry for the trouble. Sabine, go grab one of each of the color portraits and stamp them invalid. On it. Sabine dashed toward the reception table. Wait, coat of arms? What's he talking about? Mitsuha began, about this coat of arms. I should have given this to you first. It's your registration certificate, the Baron cut in, handing Mitsuha a piece of parchment with a design drawn on it. Damn. I should have known. It's the logo codename, Schema Girl designed. The one we use to ward off bandits. Now it's the official Yomino coat of arms? For as long as my line continues, I want to die. Sabine returned with a set of the portraits and gave them to Baron Ablaze. The man's face lit up with joy, and he thanked Mitsuha again and again before walking away with flushed cheeks. Yeah, people are gonna love these pictures. Especially the wedding dress and maid ones. Guess whose fault those are? The players were given instructions to return to registration when they reached 8 wins or couldn't find another opponent, and come evening they started trickling in. The first ones to arrive had apparently already won all their matches, and the servants working reception entered their names into one of the 2 brackets for the next day. Players who couldn't find an opponent were told to pick someone from the staff other than Mitsuha to play against. Some middle-aged man just picked a Reina maid who got one of the first 600 boards shipped to the capital. He's gonna regret that. Mwahaha, and that other guy fell right into my trap. He picked a little girl thinking she'd be an easy opponent, but little does he know she's the unbeatable Sabine. I stationed her there to take down cowardly players who thought they could waltz their way to 8 wins against easy opponents. Mwahaha. I felt bad for the servants who gave up the chance to participate in order to help me out, so I'm giving them all the equivalent of the prize for finishing 5th through 8th. I might actually go bald. Oh yeah, my hair'll grow back thanks to my healing powers. I keep forgetting. Phew. I've won 4 games of shogi. Is this where I register for day 2? What is Lady Iris doing here? Oh, only the Count was too busy to come, so the rest of the family left him behind. Poor guy. According to Lady Iris, The Count had told her not to steal opportunities from the common folk, so she entered the shogi tournament, since the vast majority of shogi players were nobles. Alexis and Theodore entered the shogi tournament as well, and Beatrice entered the Reversi tournament, but they'd all been knocked out already. Tough luck. I'll give them some voided color portraits later as gifts. That seems to be what I've mostly ended up using them for. The first day's matches finally came to an end well after sunset, but the staff's battle was far from done. There were plenty of things that needed doing, including making the tournament brackets for the second day. In the end, a certain number of people chose to keep their black and white portraits and withdraw from the tournament, but not a single person voided their color portrait to receive a handshake. Every single person who won 4 matches believed in themselves enough to aim for the top. Their spirit was admirable. All right, I'm gonna sell the rest of these color portraits after the tournament. People would have been upset if they chose to keep their color portrait and withdraw, then found out they could have just bought one later, but fortunately no one did that. The way things worked out, the color portraits are basically just tickets people got so they could avoid the annoyance of carrying around 16 black and white portraits. No one will complain about me selling them afterwards. And if anyone does, I'll ignore them. Plus, I can put that money toward my personal earnings, rather than the county's. Oh, I also forbade the winners from selling or giving away their prizes. I ain't the kind of prize you can treat like a commodity. The second and final day of the tournament had arrived. There were only 136 players left in total, compared to the previous day's 30,000 plus, but the crowd was the same size. Everyone who lost yesterday came back to spectate. Not that much of anyone will be able to see the matches through this crowd. The excitement in the square was palpable, and the players' eyes were bloodshot. Did any of you sleep last night? The matches on the second day were thrilling. Lady Iris's close loss to the Chancellor in the shogi semi-final was especially heated, and the crowd went wild when Lady Iris threw a piece at him in frustration. The Chancellor went on to win a narrow victory over some Count Mitsuha didn't recognize to take the championship. The Reversi tournament was entertaining as well. Big comebacks in the final few moves aren't all that rare in Reversi, so each match commanded the crowd's attention to the very end, and thus, the 2-day showdown in the capital came to an end. Mitsuha felt as relieved as a student finishing their term paper the morning it was due. It's finally over. We all survived. I'm not gonna hold any more stupid tournaments. A few days after the tournaments ended, the capital had returned to normalcy. People weren't treating Mitsuha as differently as she feared they might. Is that because I was already the savior of their country? Is it like how if you pour 200-degree water into a container of 200-degree water, it's still 200 degrees? No, that doesn't quite fit. Anyway, the war economy was booming, what with the various projects the government had started in response to the invasion, but there didn't seem to be any real sense of danger in the capital. Maybe they thought Mitsuha would save the day again if anything happened. I'm not too happy about that, but then again, there's nothing to be gained by the common folk living in fear. In which case, maybe it's best for the people to go about their business and leave the worrying to the king and nobles. That's what they call noblesse oblige, isn't it? As a member of the nobility, I guess I need to join the warriors, maybe offer some ideas. One thing she had to decide was what type of artillery fuses to use with their cannon shells. Time fuses might be best for the shrapnel shells designed to target sails and people standing on deck, while contact fuses would probably be better for the high-explosive projectiles designed to destroy the hulls. As for the ships themselves, Mitsuha wanted to prioritize speed and defense over size. One option would be to make scaled-down, armored versions of a fast ship like the Cutty Sark or the Thermopylae, for which blueprints and models were readily available. Alternatively, they could make exact copies of the ships they had captured, and try to brute force it with superior artillery and armor. Slow down. I don't have to make all these decisions myself. I just have to present the king and his advisors with choices, and they can decide, do we want to prioritize defense or firepower? Do we want to sacrifice performance to build big ships, or build small ships that are easier to make and maneuver? I don't need to carry that burden all by myself. I'm here by total chance. A miracle, really. If I had died when I fell off that cliff, if the first noble I met had been a wicked person instead of Count Bozes, if I had left for another land, this kingdom would have been devastated by the Empire's invasion, the dragons, and the Vanel fleet. If I'm here and able to help, I will. I want to protect my friends and those who have helped me. But it would be arrogant of me to think that I have to do everything myself, or that the fate of the land is entirely in my hands. The world will keep spinning without me, and these people are tough enough to keep on living even if they're on the losing side of a war. Sarah. Whatever will be, will be. That might sound like an empty saying, but it's not. If you live life with a positive attitude, if you stay true to your beliefs and don't fret about every little detail, things will work out somehow. It's a nice, optimistic way of saying to trust in the hand of fate. I could use that advice. I have so much on my plate with my county, the capital, the kingdom, neighboring countries. And then there are the nations of Earth. I'm gonna take it easy. I can't forget my original goal. Which was what again? Oh yeah. To save money for a happy and peaceful retirement. And to jump away to another land and change my name as soon as there's trouble. Whoa, I just thought of something. I've only jumped between here and Earth so far, but I could probably go to other worlds, too. Though I feel like it would be best to put on a spacesuit first, just in case. Walking along lost in thought, Mitsuha ran into Pets. Hey, Pets. How's the new girl? She asked. She's been a real surprise. The girl's going to be a good and incredible merchant. Pets responded. Why did he correct himself? I told her she could live at my store, but she said she was worried about the orphanage, so she's going to commute from there for the time being. What are the people who run the orphanage doing that a 9-year-old kid needs to worry about them? Get it together, guys, seriously. Oh, Pets. I have a proposal for you. Would you like to carry some of the products I sell at my store? Mitsuha asked. Shampoo, conditioner, that kind of thing? Really? Are you really okay with that? I'd love to, of course. Not only do I know the products will sell, but they'll attract customers who will also buy other items while they're in my store. Where is this coming from, though? Pets asked. Guess it's no surprise he's dubious. I've just been too busy to open my store much lately, and I'm worried it's an inconvenience for my customers. I'm thinking of closing up shop and turning the building into my capital mansion. I'm on the way to establishing a stable income, so I want to take it a little easier, Mitsuha replied. Pet seemed satisfied by her answer. I really did stretch myself too thin. While I'm thinking about it, though, I'd sure like to switch to making shampoo locally. I'll have to look into that. Speaking of income, the portraits you left with me are flying off the shelves. Pets exclaimed, at this rate your name will be known even beyond the borders of our land. What? I was just saying that your portraits are going to end up in other countries and spread your fame even further. Mitsuha screamed internally. I was blinded by the prospect of money. I didn't even think about the consequences of selling those portraits. All this time I haven't been too worried about my fame because of the lack of photographs and television, but then I go and distribute printed pictures of myself? What, am I an idiot? I am? Oh. Huh? What are you doing squatting there, Mitsuha? Sabine's voice intruded on Mitsuha's thoughts. Oh, Archpriestess. I've been wanting to speak with you. I have a request in regard to your portrait. Mitsuha, about the third place lunch. Voice after voice piled up, and Mitsuha unleashed another internal scream. Oh well. Looks like I'm gonna be busy for a while yet. But it's all good. I'm sure I'll achieve the quiet and peaceful life I want after a few more years, and once I do? Sarah. Bonus chapter. Beatrice and Mitsuha. Mitsuha, let's go get some food. Huh? Oh, it's you, Beatrice. That's kind of sudden, isn't it? Mitsuha asked after Beatrice showed up out of the blue at her shop. Don't you remember? I said I'd show you around all the good restaurants when I came to the capital, Beatrice replied. Oh yeah, she did say that. I think it was back when I went to their Boses County residence for the very first time and was about to leave for the capital. I can't believe she remembered. Yup, you're right, Mitsuha said. We had a date. Mitsuha hadn't spoken to a girl other than Sabine in a while. It had been adult after adult recently, and she was getting tired of all their ulterior motives. All right, I'll close the store and hang out with Beatrice today. She couldn't go out in her store uniform, though. I'm gonna close up and change, so wait there a moment, sweetie. Don't call me that. Oh yeah, she doesn't like it when I use terms of endearment. She took offense when I called her little last time. She's 5 years younger than me, though, so I can't help myself. Also, she's gotten a lot more casual with me since we first met. She seems to think she's older than me, and, well, I don't plan on correcting her. If I do, the Count will find out it was an 18-year-old sobbing into his chest. 18 puts me 3 years into adulthood in this kingdom, way too old to do something so embarrassing. Also, I wouldn't be able to get away with certain things anymore just because people think I'm a kid. And then there's the biggest problem, I'm only 5 feet tall at 18 years old. Beatrice is 4 inches taller than me at 13. But I don't mind. Beatrice is white, and everyone ages at their own pace. I'm only slightly below the average height for a Japanese woman. The problem is, my chest. Beatrice is a C cup at the very least, but I'm still an A. But once again, I'm Japanese. Beatrice is white. It's genetic. 24% of 18-year-old Japanese girls are A or AA. There are girls with even smaller breasts than mine. It's not time to panic yet. Mitsuha got so worked up that she was panting. Anyway, the point is, it would be just a bit problematic if I informed Beatrice that I'm older than her. I have my image to think about, and the last thing I want is to be the object of pity. Looks like I got off track there. What was I talking about? Oh yeah. Beatrice doesn't like being called sweetie. I'm gonna call you whatever I want, sweetie, Mitsuha declared. Oh, come on. Beatrice whined, but Mitsuha just steamrolled her. It seemed Beatrice wanted Mitsuha to treat her like an older sister, but that wasn't going to happen. This wasn't some girls' school where the students built ties stronger than blood. Beatrice and Sabine are kinda opposites, aren't they? Sabine wanted to call me Mistress Mitsuha until I shut her down. What was that, Beatrice? You've decided it's short for sweet big sister? Sure, whatever. Enough about that, you big-boobed wonder. Once Mitsuha had changed and locked the store, they departed. You know the best place for stylish girls like us? A confectionery. Beatrice exclaimed. Mitsuha wasn't sure about the stylish part, but she was on board with the sweets. Now that she thought about it, she hadn't yet been to a sweets shop in this world. She always either made food herself or brought it from Japan, and she didn't have any friends her age to go out with. What about Sabine, you ask? She's a princess, so I have to be careful where I take her. I'd only want to take her to a place I'm super familiar with, and I don't have any places like that. Wait, are there even confectionaries in this world? Here we are, Beatrice announced. Apparently there are. Despite being called a confectionery, the shop sold more than just candy and pastries. There weren't a lot of candies in this world to begin with, or at least, not that Mitsuha had seen. Though maybe those types of luxurious treats were only accessible to the nobility and the rich, or just hadn't become widespread yet. Anyway, this shop had regular meals and snacks in addition to its confections. The prices were absurd. Each plate cost several silver coins for a minuscule portion that would only fill up a toddler. As someone who abused the title of undernourished child to pig out at lunch every day in elementary school, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. Beatrice rolled her eyes at Mitsuha, who stood frozen with the menu in hand. Mitsuha, you make way too much money to cheap out on food. And don't grip the menu like that, it's embarrassing. You're shaking. Money wasn't the issue. Mitsuha could afford it just fine, but she was reluctant to spend so much money on anything she could get a better version of in Japan for just a few hundred yen. It would cost more than a small gold coin just to get 3 little items, which was enough money for 3 trips to a cake buffet back home. Maybe I am just cheaping out. Geez, Mitsuha, Beatrice groaned. Today will be my treat, so just eat whatever you want and don't worry about the price. No, I can't be treated by a girl 5 years younger than me. My Japanese pride won't allow it. Don't worry about it. You're younger than me, so there's nothing to be ashamed of. Beatrice added, right, from her point of view, there's nothing wrong at all with her paying for my food. And I highly doubt anyone wealthy enough to eat here would deign to split the bill with someone younger than them. Thanks Beatrice, Mitsuha said finally. All right, now for some girl talk. So anyway, Viscount Justiner's third son made a move on Sheralina. Farry got really angry about it, and started maneuvering to ruin his good name. Leofia came up with this totally insane plan to seduce Ernbast, the oldest son of Count Cordial. Mitsuha screamed internally. You're only 13, Beatrice. Do all noble girls grow up this fast? Oh, it's common for noble girls to get engaged before they turn 10 and marry as soon as they reach adulthood at 15, so 13 is smack in the middle of their most competitive years. That makes sense, I guess. Still, this kind of murky, vicious gossip isn't what I wanted out of my alone time with Beatrice. Come on, let's have some light, innocent girl talk. We should be giggling our butts off, not talking about drama in high society. Then Sistalia was caught with Lord Ailish, even though she's engaged. Make it stop. Oh, can I have another scone and an apple tart, and some more tea, please? No matter how mentally exhausted she was, Mitsuha wasn't going to forget to order more sweets and tea, and she snagged the waiter the second she was done with what was in front of her. The stacks of empty plates on their table foretold of a bill that had already climbed several small gold coins. Oh yeah. What about you, Mitsuha? What's your history with boys? Beatrice asked. Crook. Way to get me where it hurts. I was actually popular with boys in elementary school and middle school. They were always asking me to play baseball and soccer when they didn't have enough people, and demanding I tell them about my airsoft matches with my brother and whatnot. I definitely wasn't athletic, but I was good enough to help fill out a team, and my presence made things easier on the less athletic boys. They all appreciated having someone on the field who was a bigger burden than they were, which is an important contribution. Mikan would always say, that's not being popular. They're treating you like a dumb younger boy, not a girl. And sure enough, they stopped talking to me in high school. Mitsuha explained this to Beatrice while converting age and school to the equivalents in this kingdom. That's not being popular, Beatrice said. Damn it. Let's talk about something else. Anyway, Beatrice Mitsuha began. But I'm not talking about playing with boys. I'm asking if you've ever had a boyfriend. I guess not. Well, if you were going to date someone, what would be your type? Do you value looks, personality, status, or, let's see, money? Hold on a second. Beatrice just looked down at a piece of paper. Did she prepare these questions in advance? Who put you up to this? Mitsuha yelled. Eek. Beatrice screamed. Oh crap, that was really loud. Mitsuha apologized to the employees and other customers, then turned to interrogate Beatrice. So? What's going on here? She demanded. Well. Answer the question. What is going on here? I'm so sorry. Beatrice finally relented. See, Alex asked me to take you to a restaurant and ask you these questions. He gave me a gold coin to fund the operation. That's why she said she'd treat me. Then, after that, Father said, I'll buy you anything you want if you ask these questions, and gave me 2 gold coins. She got 2 people to pay her to do this? Then Theo gave me a gold coin. Make that 3 people. What a beast. Well, whatever, Mitsuha thought. I'm sure Beatrice has her reasons, and I can't blame her for being a little greedy. I guess I'll help her out. Here, give me that. Mitsuha wrote her answers in the blank spaces between the questions. You can share these with each of the questioners. But don't tell them I gave you the answers this way. Make them think you got it out of me with your deft conversational skills. Oh okay, Beatrice said with a guilty nod. Sweet, I can totally misdirect them. They've got a long ways to go before they can challenge me to a war of information. Well, shall we head out? Beatrice asked. Huh? Why the rush? Let's stay a little longer, Mitsuha replied. Seems like Beatrice is ready to part ways, but it's still too early for. What are you saying? We have 3 more restaurants to go to today. We need to keep up the pace if we're going to visit all the restaurants I want to show you before ballroom season. How? Beatrice really is a beast. Saving 80,000 gold in another world for my retirement. Volume 2. Chapter 21. To the capital. We're going to the capital, Mitsuha. And it might seem blasphemous to complain. They went to bed right after saving 80,000 gold in another world for my retirement. Volume 3. Chapter 31. Preparation. It had been 3 weeks since the hellish board game tournament, and Mitsuha's general store had undergone some slight changes. First, Mitsuha had entrusted her best-selling items to Pets's shop, then lined her own shelves with the less popular goods. Huh? It's usually the other way around. Sure, but my place would be way too busy if I held on to the popular stuff. Besides, since I'll be open so rarely, it'd be a huge inconvenience for people who want to buy my offerings of daily necessities. So I'm only gonna carry items that aren't particularly popular but have a high profit margin, items that need to be explained to customers, that kind of thing. Mitsuha also decided to promote the folding bike trailer from a special order only item to the status of regular stock. She did actually consider closing the store permanently, but couldn't bring herself to do it. She'd grown too attached. And, profit aside, she also got a kick out of watching Japanese products help people in this world. As soon as one of her items caught on, she would just transfer it to Pets's store. And thus was born Mitsuha's General Store Mark II, which would open only rarely and carry nothing but expensive, unpopular items. Okay, I'll say what we're all thinking. What kind of a store is that? That wasn't the only change Mitsuha made to her store, or the Yamano clan capital residence, as it was now known. She also upgraded the security system by adding infrared sensors and wires that, when tripped, would automatically cause a transmitter to send a signal to Yamano County and set off an alarm. Mitsuha's domain was small enough that she would be able to hear it from anywhere within her own borders, and just to be doubly sure, her butler Anton would contact her via walkie-talkie. She would then pop over to the emergency arsenal she was renting at Wolf Fang's base and arrive at her store fully armed. Mitsuha decided against automatically fired arrows and the like, out of fear they would hit someone who meant no harm. The decision of whether or not to attack was one she needed to make personally. When Sabine was informed of these new defensive measures, she responded with disbelief. Mitsuha, just who do you think is going to attack your store? Shut up. Mitsuha also built a gun turret on the roof. It was an elevated mobile pedestal where she could install a heavy machine gun, giving her a full 360-degree command of the surrounding streets. The machine gun wouldn't be on the pedestal at all times, of course, she would just jump there with it in case of emergency. Are you at war with someone, Mitsuha? Sabine asked, aghast. Shut up, I said. I'm just a cautious person. Well, most of my classmates probably wouldn't buy that for a second, but my childhood friend Mikan would know what I'm talking about. I think. What if my capital residence gets besieged by bandits? What if I can't jump away for some reason? What if I need to protect the people of this city? I wouldn't be able to relax without these safety measures in place. Anyway, the remodeling on my capital residence is done, and I'm finally finished giving out the rewards from the board game tournament. It's about time to say, our true battle is just beginning. Oh, don't worry. This isn't about to get cut off like some anime that got cancelled just as the story was heating up. I swear. Mitsuha had taken care of all her business in the capital for the time being. Now that lightning corn shipments were arriving from Yamano County, the orphanage could continue their operation alongside mass market sales, no problem. Others had begun to start their own popcorn endeavors, too, merchants who learned they could make their own lightning corn if they used the kernels grown in Yamano County, stall owners who had seen the orphan's success firsthand, even some juvenile delinquents who thought they could butt into the market. All Mitsuha could do was watch and see how it all played out. Just when Mitsuha was about ready to return to her domain, she received a message from Sabine. "Father wants to see you." Guess I can't ignore a summons from the king. "You summoned me, Your Majesty?" Mitsuha said. "Indeed, thank you for coming. I wanted to discuss our plan to warn the neighboring countries of the threat of possible invasion," the king began. "Oh yeah, we did talk about that, didn't we? I kinda forgot. I intend to send envoys abroad soon, not yet to negotiate, but to inform the various countries of the situation and stress the need for unity. We don't know where the enemy will arrive next, and if we allow them ashore, the whole continent will be overrun. I want to spread word in preparation for a conference with the aim of forming an alliance for mutual defense." "That sounds like a good idea," Mitsuha replied. "He's really thought this through. Way to go, Your Majesty. And, if the participating countries are to take part in the joint development of new ships and powerful new weapons, they'll have no choice but to join the alliance." "Whoa, nefarious. Heh, you're such a scoundrel, Your Majesty." "Nonsense, I've got nothing on you, Mitsuha." The king had grown fond of some strange turns of phrase ever since Sabine started relating the plots of her favorite Mito Koman episodes to him, and he now used them at every opportunity. Mitsuha and Sabine were constantly having to create situations for him to get it out of his system. They didn't want him freaking anyone else out with his weird catchphrases. Who knows what kind of trouble that might cause? Damn it, Sabine, why'd you have to go and pollute his mind like that? "We will select the envoys, aides, and guards from among the staff of the royal palace, of course," the king said. "Meanwhile, I have another job in mind for you, Mitsuha, Viscountess Yamano. Is it to demonstrate the strength of our weapons and display my authority as the Lightning Archpriestess?" Mitsuha asked. "It is indeed." He went out of his way to correct himself and call me Viscountess Yamano instead of Mitsuha. That can only mean one thing: he's giving me this task not as Sabine's friend, but as his vassal. It's not an order I can refuse. "I humbly accept thy command, Your Majesty." After departing the king's presence, Mitsuha returned to her domain. She needed to turn her mind to county affairs, but first she threw herself down on the bed to have a good think. Item 1, her diplomatic mission. It was already a done deal that she was going now. The only question was how to travel. World jumping wasn't an option because she had never been to these countries before. Once she had, she would be able to jump there whenever she liked, but initially she would have to travel there by normal means. Come to think of it, this could be pretty useful down the line. The first thing Mitsuha needed to do was choose her mode of transportation. "I want no part of the rattly, but murdering carriages of this world, and I don't want to get stuck talking to any dirty old men on the way, either. I like my older men refined, thank you very much. I mean it. I could take a royal carriage, but I wouldn't be able to fit much luggage, and I'd always have eyes on me, too. It'd make it hard to act freely. Should I use my personal carriage, then? I'd avoid the butt pain that way, at least. But it's small, with limited carrying capacity, and I doubt Silver could handle a journey that long all on his own. It may be a high-quality Earth-made carriage, but it could still break down after traveling on unpaved roads for a long time, and then I'd be screwed. I'd have to jump back to Earth to get it repaired, and because it was custom-made, acquiring the necessary parts would take a while. Plus, the carriage would be way too slow. Talk about a waste of time. There's gotta be a faster, comfier, more convenient way. I can just ask the king for money, so expense shouldn't be an issue. Think. Ding ding ding. After mulling it over for a while, an idea suddenly popped into Mitsuha's head. She would have to do a bit of checking, but it just might work. It would take a lot of money and time to prepare, but she hoped the king would agree to lend her some gold, in which case, time was the bigger issue. I'd better get to work. As soon as I take care of matters in my domain and confirm a few things, I'll begin preparations. Assuming everything's good to go, that is. All right, time to head to my office and hear Anton's report on what's been happening in my absence. County meeting time, Mitsuha announced. The people gathered in the dining room looked at her, their faces grave. The group was comprised of everyone who served Mitsuha directly, including those who worked at her Yamano County residence, the army officers, and her technological advisor Randy. Not one for formality, Mitsuha started off by joking around a bit to lighten the mood, but everyone present understood the importance of this meeting. They knew it would influence the future of Yamano County, and that what was said or wasn't said would directly impact the lives of its citizenry. The words of the commoners would affect the course of county government, and the honor and trepidation stemming from that knowledge was giving everyone in the room sweaty palms. Mitsuha was no exception, but she didn't let it show in her face. Okay, let's hear your reports. They had held enough of these meetings to have this part down to a science. Everyone knew the order in which the reports should be given and what kind of information should be included. First up was the most important topic,